Thick shag carpet climbs from the floor onto a living room wall, turning an ordinary surface into something soft, colorful, and unmistakably 1970 seconds. Most American homes never carried carpeting this far, but cheaper tufted construction and synthetic fibers had already made wall-to-wall carpet widely accessible. In some houses, that enthusiasm spread into bathrooms, basements, stairways, and even ceilings. Why did these unusual interiors once feel comfortable and luxurious, and why did later owners tear them out? The story begins when carpeting changed from an expensive furnishing into a mass-market feature of modern American life. Introduction walk into certain preserved American homes from the 1970s, and the carpet does not always stop where the floor ends. A thick field of green, orange, gold, or brown may climb the staircase, wrap around a platform, cover the side of a bathtub, or continue straight up a wall. In a few especially elaborate rooms, the texture even reaches the ceiling. These interiors are memorable because they were unusual, not because every American family lived inside a carpeted box. Most homes with carpet used it in an ordinary way, stretched across the floor from wall to wall. Shag carpet was one particularly deep and loose style within that much larger market. Covering a bathroom, wall, or ceiling was a more extreme extension of the idea. Found in selected homes, showrooms, recreational spaces, and highly coordinated designer interiors. But it was not simply a joke. To many homeowners, carpeting represented warmth, quiet, softness, color, and modern manufacturing. It covered cold floors, muffled footsteps, softened hard suburban rooms, and turned a plain interior into something that felt finished. By the 1970s, factories could produce synthetic carpet in colors and textures that would once have been too expensive for most families. The material had become so available that some designers stopped treating it as flooring and began treating it as an architectural surface. Yet the same carpet that looked luxurious in a photograph could be difficult to live with. Long pile trapped crumbs and dirt. Furniture crushed it. Synthetic fibers generated static. Bathroom carpet absorbed moisture. And carpet attached to walls or ceilings was awkward to clean, repair, or remove within a generation. Many of these rooms were stripped back to wood, tile, drywall, and paint. So why did carpet once feel modern enough to spread across nearly every available surface? Why did some Americans extend it into bathrooms and up the walls? And why did the material that promised a softer home eventually become one of the first things new owners wanted to tear out? The answer begins long before shag carpet, when covering an entire room with fabric was still a sign of considerable wealth. Chapter 1. When carpet was still a luxury. Americans had used rugs and carpets for centuries. But the experience was not the same as walking into a post-war house covered from edge to edge. A rug was a separate object. It could be rolled, moved, cleaned, repaired, or taken to another home. Even a large rug usually left some of the floor visible around its borders. Traditional carpet manufacturing was slow and expensive. Woven carpet required looms that interlaced the surface yarn with the backing structure. What provided durability and richness, but it also increased the cost. Wall-to-wall installation existed before the 1950s. Wealthy households, hotels, theaters, and public buildings used fitted carpet, sometimes sewn together from narrower strips. But for many families, hardwood, linoleum, painted boards, or smaller rugs remained more practical. The transformation began in an unexpected place. The tufted bedspread industry of northern Georgia. In the 1890s, Catherine Evans, later Catherine Evans Whitener, revived a hand tufting method to make a pattern bedspread as a gift. Yarn was punched through cotton sheeting to create raised sections on the surface. Other women in the Dalton region began producing similar spreads, first by hand and later through increasingly mechanized methods. The roadside sale of chenille bedspreads developed into a regional industry. Manufacturers learned how to move fabric through machines fitted with many needles, Instead of weaving yarn into a structure one crossing at a time, the needles pushed rows of loops through a prepared backing. The technique could produce a textured surface much faster than traditional carpet weaving. During the 1930s and 1940 seconds, improvements in machinery widened the material that could be tufted. After the Second World War, Dalton manufacturers adapted those machines to produce room-sized rugs and broad rolls of carpeting. The basic process was efficient. A sheet of backing moved beneath hundreds of needles. The needles inserted yarn in closely spaced rows. The loops could remain uncut, creating a looped surface, or be sliced open to create a pile. Adhesive helped secure the tufts, and an additional backing could strengthen the finished carpet. This was not merely a cheaper imitation of woven wool carpet. It was a manufacturing system capable of creating new textures at a remarkable scale. The timing was ideal. The post-war United States was building houses rapidly. Suburban developments offered millions of families new rooms that needed to be finished and furnished. A builder could install carpet across an entire bedroom or living room without the owner purchasing several separate rugs. Wall-to-wall carpet also changed how a room was perceived because it continued beneath the furniture and reached every edge. It made the space feel unified. It could hide imperfect floorboards, minor surface damage, and the gaps between older materials. A padded layer beneath it made the floor seem softer and quieter for families moving from older apartments or houses with bare floors. This continuous surface could feel like a major improvement. Yet tufting machinery alone did not create the carpet boom. The early Dalton industry relied heavily on cotton, which had limitations as a floor covering. It could absorb moisture, wear under heavy traffic, and lose appearance over time. The next stage depended on materials developed in chemical laboratories rather than textile workshops. Synthetic fibers would make carpet stronger, brighter, and easier to produce in the deep textures that eventually defined the 1970. Chapter 2: How the floor became soft and synthetic nylon had first attracted public attention through products such as stockings, but its strength and resistance to wear made it valuable for flooring as well. During the post-war decades, fiber companies worked with carpet manufacturers to adapt nylon yarn for tufted production. Polyester, acrylic fibers, and polypropylene also entered parts of the market. These materials gave manufacturers new control over color. Durability, texture, and price would remain desirable, especially in expensive carpet, but synthetic yarn could be produced in enormous quantities. It resisted insect damage and could withstand kinds of wear that challenged softer natural fibers. Advances in continuous filament yarn also reduced the number of loose fiber ends that could work free from the carpet. The combination of tufting and synthetic yarn altered the economics of the industry. In 1950, carpet consumption had changed relatively little from the levels of earlier decades. During the years that followed, production expanded rapidly. Carpet industry sales passed $1 billion annually in the early 1960s and $2 billion in the early 1970s. Dalton and the surrounding region became the center of American tufted carpet manufacturing. Factories produced rolls wide enough to cover rooms with relatively few seams. Dye houses, yarn suppliers, backing manufacturers, machinery companies, installers, retailers, and advertising agencies grew around. The new market, carpet, was no longer presented only as a permanent furnishing for a formal room. It became part of modern home improvement. Advertisements invited homeowners to choose among dozens of colors and textures. Builders offered carpet packages in new houses. Retailers encouraged families to cover bedrooms, living rooms, hallways, and family rooms in one coordinated installation. The sales appeal combined practicality with emotion. Carpet made a room feel warmer, even when it did not replace insulation. It reduced the sharp sound of shoes on a hard floor. Children could sit or play on it. A person getting out of bed placed bare feet on fabric, rather than cold wood or tile dot. It also concealed the floor beneath it that was useful in a new house built with a basic subfloor intended to be covered. It was equally useful during renovation, when installing carpet could be faster than refinishing scratched boards or repairing a mixture of older surfaces. By the late 1960s, texture had become increasingly important. Shag carpet used a long, loose pile that stood much higher than conventional carpet. The fibers moved beneath the feet and changed appearance as they leaned in different directions. Light struck the surface unevenly, creating depth that a short, flat pile could not produce. Shag was only one style. Many American homes had lower, tighter carpet that looked nothing like it. But shag became the visual symbol of the period because it was impossible to ignore. Manufacturers offered it in earth tones, bright oranges, blues, reds, greens, golds, and combinations of several colors. Some styles mixed thick and thin yarns. Others used different pile heights to create patterns without printing an image on the surface. This abundance matched a larger change in interior design. The cool, restrained modernism associated with some 1950s interiors was giving way to spaces that emphasized texture, personal expression, bold color, craft, and physical comfort. Wood paneling, houseplants, woven hangings, leather, smoked glass, metallic wallpaper, and sculptural lighting appeared beside deep carpet. The room was no longer expected to look untouched. It was meant to feel inhabited. Carpet could also make inexpensive furniture and simple construction feel richer. A basement with exposed structural limitations became a finished recreation room once the concrete disappeared beneath padding and pile. A narrow staircase seemed quieter and more substantial when wrapped in carpet. The material solved enough ordinary problems that extending it into less ordinary places began to seem plausible. Once, the entire floor had become a soft field of color. The edge where carpet met the wall could appear less like a rule and more like an opportunity. Chapter 3. When the carpet left the floor ordinary. Wall-to-wall carpet and carpet applied to a wall were not the same trend. The first became extremely common. The second remained far more selective. Yet the language surrounding carpet encouraged experimentation. It was sold not merely as a floor covering, but as a way to introduce softness, absorb sound, unify color, and transform the character of a room. All of those qualities could continue above the baseboard. A carpeted wall created an immediate visual effect. Paint changed color, but carpet changed the surface itself. Light disappeared into the pile. Corners looked softer. The room felt enclosed by texture rather than surrounded by flat plaster in the bedroom. Then, home bar, music room, or basement lounge. That enclosure could seem intimate and luxurious. Sound was another attraction. Soft fibrous surfaces reduced some of the reflections produced by hard walls and floors. This did not make an ordinary carpeted room professionally soundproof. Noise could still travel through doors, ceilings, ductwork, and the structure of the house. But a heavily furnished room with carpet on several surfaces could sound less sharp and echoing than one finished entirely in wood, tile, glass, or plaster that mattered in spaces built around recorded music and television. The 1970s home increasingly contained stereo systems, larger speakers, televisions, and recreational rooms. Carpet on the floor reduced reflections and foot noise. Extending a textile onto a wall could strengthen the visual identity of a listening room while contributing some acoustic absorption. High-end commercial interiors were also experimenting with carpet as architecture. In 1970, the New Knoll showroom in New York used large freestanding forms covered in the same grey carpet as the floor. These carpeted structures helped divide an open showroom without relying on conventional walls. The example was not an average suburban living room, but it demonstrated the period's willingness to move carpet beyond its expected location. In private homes, the most dramatic installations often pursued a complete environment. A platform bed could rise from a carpeted floor with the same material continuing over the platform sides. Steps into a sunken living room might be covered on every visible surface. A built-in bench or cabinet base could disappear beneath matching pile. In rare cases, the carpet continued up a full wall or across the ceiling. The ceiling covered in textile lowered the visual weight of the room and intensified the sense of enclosure. It could create a cocoon-like bedroom, a theatrical lounge, or a basement room that felt deliberately separated from the rest of the house. It also demanded commitment. Paint could be changed in a weekend. Carpet glued or fastened overhead was not so easily reconsidered. Bathrooms represented a different extension of the same desire for softness. The conventional bathroom was full of hard, cold, washable surfaces. Porcelain, ceramic tile, metal, glass, and resilient flooring all suited water, but they could feel clinical beneath bare feet. Carpet promised to turn the bathroom into another furnished room. A homeowner could step from the tub onto a warm floor. The color could match towels, curtains, the toilet seat cover, the wastebasket, and the carpet wrapped around the sides of the tub or vanity. This total coordination is essential to understanding the appeal. The goal was not always restraint. A bathroom could become a complete composition in pink, blue, gold, or avocado green. Shag around the tub or toilet added texture to every level of the scheme. Some of what now appears to be permanent carpeting was sold as a collection of fitted pieces rather than one continuous installation. Toilet surrounds, hanger covers, bath mats, and lid covers could create an almost fully carpeted appearance while remaining removable. Other bathrooms genuinely received wall-to-wall carpet. The difference mattered when water reached the floor. Carpet also spread through stairs, hallways, and basements for practical reasons. It softened falls, reduced impact noise, and covered unfinished or inconsistent surfaces. In a basement recreation room, it made concrete feel less institutional. On stairs, it muffled footsteps that could otherwise be heard throughout the house. Each extension seemed reasonable when considered separately. The extraordinary interiors appeared when several of them were combined. Shag underfoot, carpeted steps, a covered platform, a textile wall, and matching bathroom accessories. These homes were highly visible because they photographed well and because preserved examples now circulate widely online. But a surviving time capsule cannot be treated as a statistical portrait of the entire country. Many 1,970 households used carpet only in bedrooms or living room. Others retained hardwood, tile, linoleum, terrazzo, or vinyl. Families differed by region, income, housing age, climate, and personal preference. The carpeted ceiling was never a universal American standard. It was the outer edge of a much larger carpet boom, and the farther the material moved from the center of a dry living room floor, the more difficult it became to maintain. Chapter 4 It was like to live with Shag. New Shag carpet could feel unusually soft and deep. The pile concealed the backing, absorbed the pressure of a footstep, and changed direction as someone crossed the room. A freshly cleaned surface could look almost sculpted. It rarely remained untouched for long. Long fibers collected material below the visible surface. Crumbs, grit, pet hair, small toys, coins, and other objects could settle between the strands. A quick pass with a vacuum might clean the top, while leaving heavier debris closer to the backing. Some owners used carpet rakes or grooming tools to lift, flatten, pile, and restore a more even appearance. Vacuuming required care. A machine designed for shorter carpet could struggle with exceptionally long fibers. Brushes and belts could pull at yarn, while a high pile could reduce airflow near the floor. Furniture created another problem. Heavy sofas and cabinets compressed the surface into deep marks. Rearranging a room revealed pale or crushed areas where the carpet had been protected from traffic and light. Repeated walking created paths in doorways and around seating. Synthetic fibers introduced static electricity, especially in dry conditions. A person crossing the room could receive a small shock from a metal lamp, door handle, or another person. Manufacturers worked on conductive and anti-static fibers because the problem was noticeable enough to affect the products. Appeal. Spills exposed the difference between softness and simplicity. A hard floor could usually be wiped. A thick carpet absorbed liquid through the pile and into the backing or pad. Cleaning the visible fibers did not guarantee that the material beneath them had dried dot in a living room. That could create a stain or odor dot in a bathroom. Moisture was part of the room's normal operation. Water escaped from taps and showers. Wet feet crossed the floor. Plumbing fixtures could leak slowly. Carpet surrounding a toilet or fitted tightly against a bathtub was difficult to inspect beneath the surface. The padding could hold water after the top felt dry. If moisture reached the subfloor and remained there, it could contribute to deterioration and mold growth. Bathroom carpet could be maintained successfully only with careful ventilation, immediate drying, regular cleaning, and dependable plumbing. Many households eventually decided that tile, vinyl, or another water-resistant surface demanded less attention. Carpeted walls had different problems. They experienced little foot traffic, so the pile might retain its original height. But dust settled on the fibers, and cleaning a vertical surface was less convenient than vacuuming a floor. Cooking residue or cigarette smoke could cling to textile surfaces. Furniture rubbing against the wall compressed the pile in irregular patches. A stain on paint could be covered with another coat, a damaged area of wall. Carpet might require a patch that remained visible because its fibers had not aged or faded at the same rate. The ceiling was more difficult still. Every cleaning tool had to be raised overhead. Adhesive failure could cause sections to sag. Accessing wiring, repairing water damage, or changing a light fixture became more complicated. When the ceiling itself was upholstered, carpet on stairs presented a balance of advantages and disadvantages. It reduced noise and softened the impact of a fall. But the pile also had to remain secure at every edge. Loose carpet on a stair could become a hazard. The center of each tread were faster than the sides, creating a visible route through the house. Installation quality mattered everywhere. Wall-to-wall carpet needed to be stretched and secured properly. Seams had to be placed carefully. Underlay had to match the room and the carpet. Material installed too loosely could wrinkle. Material glued directly to unsuitable surfaces could be difficult to remove later. By the late 1970s and into the 1980s, the look itself began changing. Deep shag had become strongly associated with the previous decade. New interiors favored different combinations of color and surface. Shorter pile, neutral carpet, tile, resilient flooring, and exposed wood offered cleaner visual lines. Hardwood acquired particular value. In earlier decades, some homeowners had covered wood because carpet seemed newer and easier. Later, buyers pulled up the carpet and treated the boards beneath it as the luxury feature. Removing carpet could make a room appear brighter and larger. Hard flooring allowed rugs and furniture to be rearranged without rebuilding the entire color scheme. A damaged area could sometimes be repaired without replacing material across the whole room. Changing family life also worked against the total carpet interior. Pets, children, allergies, spills, and frequent remodeling all made permanent textile surfaces less attractive to some households. A buyer could tolerate an unwanted painted wall while planning a new color. Unwanted shag attached to the wall demanded immediate physical removal. Once carpet lost its association with automatic modernity, its weaknesses became harder to overlook. The bathroom no longer felt luxurious. It felt difficult to dry. The carpeted wall no longer felt daring. It felt like a surface collecting 40 years of household life, and the Synthetic floor that had once concealed old wood increasingly became the material concealing the feature buyers most wanted to uncover. Chapter 5. Why carpet never completely disappeared. Decline of shag and carpeted bathrooms did not mean that American families abandoned carpet. Wall-to-wall flooring remained common in bedrooms, apartments, offices, hotels, and houses where warmth, sound absorption, and softness mattered more than the appearance of exposed wood. The market changed rather than vanished. Manufacturers developed lower piles, denser constructions, stain-resistant treatments, modular carpet tiles, new backing systems, and fibers designed for easier maintenance. Neutral colors reduced the risk that the entire room would appear tied to one moment in fashion. Modern designers are also experimenting with carpet. Again, wall-to-wall installations have returned to selected bedrooms, libraries, and media rooms where comfort and acoustics are valuable. Some designers use patterned broadloom as a deliberate decorative statement rather than as a default surface chosen for an entire house. Even carpeted ceilings have reappeared in a limited form. Contemporary versions tend to use lighter flatweaves, rugs, felt-like materials, or carefully selected textiles rather than thick household shag attached indiscriminately overhead. They appear in specific rooms where texture or sound control justifies the difficulty. Bathroom carpet occasionally returns as a provocative design choice, but modern guidance still favors surfaces that prevent water from reaching absorbent layers beneath the floor. The revival therefore does not repeat the 1970 seconds exactly. It borrows the original insight while questioning the excess. Carpet can make a room warmer, quieter, softer, and more intimate. It can transform the way light, sound, and movement are experienced. But those benefits do not mean that every surface should receive the same treatment. So why did some 1970 seconds American homes put carpet on the walls? Because several changes had arrived at once. Tufting machines made broad carpet faster to produce. Synthetic fibers made deep colors and textures more affordable. Post-war houses offered large new surfaces to cover. And a generation of designers and homeowners wanted rooms that felt warm, expressive, informal, and completely coordinated. Wall to wall, carpet succeeded so thoroughly that a few people stopped seeing the wall as the place where carpet had to end. The trend declined because a home is not a showroom photograph. Carpet had to be vacuumed, dried, repaired, and lived with. Shag flattened. Bathroom padding became wet. Vertical surfaces trapped dust and odors. Permanent color schemes aged, and hardwood returned from beneath the pile. With a new claim to luxury, return now to the preserved room where carpet rises from the floor and climbs the wall. It should not be dismissed as proof that an entire decade lost its judgment, nor should it be treated as a typical American interior. It is evidence of a brief moment when manufacturing had made softness abundant, and homeowners were still discovering where that softness belonged. For a while, the answer seemed to be everywhere.